Hello, and welcome back to The Power of Now, a guide to spiritual enlightenment with Gilda and Barbara. Today, we're doing a book study on Awakening to Divine Purpose, a guide through the 6 stages of spiritual transformation, written by Barbara Wainwright, and we hope you have your copy so that you can follow along. Today, we are on Stage 1, Awakening, Becoming Conscious, Section 8, Controversy, the Teacher. My name is Barbara Wainwright, and I'm here with Gilda Simonet. Welcome, Gilda.
Thank you. Controversy, the Teacher. A quote by Gloria Felt. Embrace controversy. It gives you a platform. It is a teacher, a clarifier, and your friend, especially if you are trying to make a change.
Controversy can be a great teacher. When you take a stand on an issue, you discover who you are and what you stand for. That kind of clarity is essential. I can also see how controversy, as Felt says, gives you a platform. When you declare your position, you automatically create a foundation from which to speak and act. It becomes a clarifier as well. By standing firm, you not only learn about yourself, but also sharpen your sense of truth and identity. In this way, controversy really can be a friend, especially when you're trying to make a change.
A quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy.
I fully agree with that statement. You can tell a great deal about someone, not when life is easy, but when life is hard.
Take something simple. If a person spills something on their clothing, how they react reveals much about their emotional intelligence. One response might be a shrug. Well, that happened. Another response might be frustration, anger, or embarrassment. The difference shows something about who they are. Now imagine a more serious situation, such as a car accident that destroys your car. How do you respond? Do you resist in rage? Or do you accept what happened and deal with it rationally, with integrity?
Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It means facing reality as it is. Yes, the accident happened. Yes, my car is gone. Yes, it will take effort to replace it or have it repaired. Then you ask, what steps can I take now? A meltdown doesn't serve you. Clear thinking does.
All of us will face controversy, trials, and tribulations. That is part of being human. But in those moments, we can decide, do I respond by losing control? Or do I respond with acceptance and resolve? The choice shapes not only the situation, but also who we become in the process.
There's a lot of wisdom in this section because learning about yourself or learning about someone that you are getting to know and discovering how they manage their emotions when controversy arises is so revealing in their level of emotional intelligence. I've met people that have acted like a toddler, even though they're full grown adults, in situations that wouldn't really warrant that behavior. And I've seen people act out in anger at things that sometimes seem trivial. And I believe what is happening there is an unconscious reaction to what happened. When we become present which is what this section, stage 1, is about: awakening and becoming conscious. When we become conscious and become present, we can take a moment before reacting. In fact, when you take a moment, you're not reacting, you are taking action, which is quite different than reacting from your subconscious mind. I think that being able to pause before you take action, analyze the situation, and move forward with confidence and strength and assertiveness is much better than overreacting to a situation when you're an adult. I see children do it. I see children overreact sometimes. And to me, it's really clear that they haven't learned emotional regulation. I want to be around people that have emotional maturity, that think before they speak, that evaluate the impact of the words that they're going to say before they say them, that speak from their heart and their truth without causing someone else pain. And that takes a level of consciousness, and it also takes wisdom, compassion, thoughtfulness. Experiencing controversy can bring up a lot of feelings, maybe unresolved feelings, feelings from the past that may have been unresolved. That's good. That's something for you to look at and get to peace with. But to bring that into the current present moment and to what's unfolding right now may not be appropriate.
Well, I know I've been in situations where people have like crash outs or uh, little mini meltdowns, and they're just like super angry and like slamming doors and just kind of losing their mind, if you will. And I think sometimes like your first instinct might be to match that energy and, be like, be quiet, just stop yelling. But it's interesting because I find myself just like taking it all in, really, just like breathing in and just being like, okay, like in my mind, like I'm not even like saying anything to them. It's just mainly like, I think it automatically throws me into presence because it's just like, whoa, like this is an intense situation that's happening right now.
I've known adults that have had explosive behavior that's been totally inappropriate and unwarranted. So obviously, something was tapped into that caused them to regress back to childhood when they.
Yeah, I for sure grew up with adults who didn't know how to manage their emotions and definitely flipped out and, you know, highly reacted to something that really just needed like a minimal reaction. They really exploded. So yeah.
In that case, you being the child and them being the supposed adult, it's in that situation, I'll say what's kind of a miracle is that you are as cool, calm, and collected as you are because you weren't modeled that behavior. You had to learn it through your own spiritual growth, spiritual emotional growth, I'll say, as opposed to having adult, mature responses when you were young. So that says a lot about you, Gilda, in that you have, I want to say you must have done a ton of work on yourself to recognize that that behavior is not okay. Then learn to regulate your reactions so that you don't behave in that same way. It's I don't know, it speaks volumes about your path.
Thank you. I'm always a work in progress, so I'm
You're
not perfect, obviously, but I work on it.
I don't know anybody who is perfect though.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think we're all works in progress and we can all do better, once we become aware and conscious. Once you become conscious and aware of what is happening, what your actions are, what impact they have in the world, and what you would what kind of an impact would you like to have, all of those things tie into becoming conscious and aware of who we are and what experiences do we want to have in the world? Who do we want to be remembered as? Right? I love that quote. I've learned that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I remember being in an emotionally abusive situation, and she's right. I won't forget how that person made me feel. Do I want to be around that person ever again? No, thank you. However, when somebody makes me feel good and empowered and inspired and on fire for life, those are the kind of people that I want to be around,
Me too.
right? And if we find ourselves surrounded by people that don't do well when a troubling situation arises, our best step is to stay calm, stay centered, stay conscious, stay aware of everything that is going on in the situation around us and be the calm in the storm. And I believe that doing that, being that person that is the calm in the storm, and personally, I like visualizing white light surrounding me and then expanding out to the entire room. That is when your ability to bring your essence, your truth of who you are into the situation can change everything for the better.
Amen. There's just always going to be controversy in your life, like in life in general, not even just your own personal life, like in
Yeah,
the world. If you look at the world right now, there's just so much going on. So I almost feel like you just got to learn how to, if you don't already, if you still find yourself struggling with losing it and, becoming unconscious and crashing out and having meltdowns, stuff like that, like it is probably good to exercise presence and breathing and being in the moment because there's just so much happening right now that like if you don't learn how to control it, you're just gonna spiral out like the rest of society that is doing so as we speak.
yeah, agree. It's great to get some tools on board so that you can be the calm in the storm instead of being the storm. Uh, what would be some tools that you could use? Definitely taking a few deep breaths is really good. I used to walk away. I used to go take a walk because walking away would give me a moment to, first of all, calm down because my ego would be going wild with negativity, if you will. Because, what is our ego? Our ego is there to protect us and, keep us alive, right? So if we're being threatened on some level, the ego's going to go, oh, no, you don't, and start on the defensive. So I'd walk away and I'd let the ego do its thing and I'd remember that is ego, that is survival. That's not compassion and love. Where's the compassion and love in this situation? And then after I'd taken a, 10-minute walk or however long it took for me to let go of the egoic thoughts and bring in the love and compassion, which is what I ultimately wanted, then I could go back and address the situation, and the situation would be completely different coming from that perspective and that energy instead of the defensive egoic state.
It's true, and the ego is so strong that you will believe it, right? You'll believe that like all the stories and scenarios it's gonna tell you. And if you do kind of believe in it and match that energy, like that will become your reality. But if you do take that step back and be, okay, like how do I look at this differently? And usually you do that by breathing and practicing presence and, just trying not to entertain the ego any longer. I almost feel like it comes naturally at that point. So yeah, I just have to tap in and learn how to tap in, and you'll be able to manifest a better reality when you come back to the situation as opposed
Abs-
to the negative one.
Absolutely. And, I guess it comes down to recognizing that our ego is there to create, I don't know, survival, number one. And when you hear or sense the ego with, better than or judgment, any judgment against yourself or judgment against another person, that is ego. It's not going to help the situation. So if you can recognize an egoic thought and bring love and compassion into your thoughts, isn't that going to create a better outcome for you than anger and strife?
Yes. And it's interesting because I know that sometimes like in the moment, like the anger feels like the most important and like all that emotion and energy just feels so important. But when you actually like look at that, and if you ever think about it, like when you're done like having that outburst and then you like take a step back, like maybe time goes by, you just kind of like sometimes could even feel disgusted with yourself, like, oh man, like maybe I was doing too much there, or maybe that was a little extreme. So that kind of even shows you right there, like the ego is not really a true source, I guess, right? Because not like a true source, but it's not really reliable because it feels so strong and heavy and important in the moment, but in reality, it's like, oops, that actually didn't feel too good. Or I think that's what made me like want to practice presence too sometimes, because I would find myself in those type of situations. Like, and I think it does, stem from childhood, right? Like I was always exposed to like being yelled at and shouted at and just like high energy, high anger, high ego all the time. And yeah, I think after a while, like you just kind of realize like, hey, like this does not feel good. This isn't doing good for anybody.
Right. And it's not doing good for anybody. And it takes so much energy, right? To be angry takes so much energy. If you come from a place of love and compassion, I don't know. It doesn't take as much energy to do that. It's just, I guess, because when you're coming from that place of love and compassion, you're tapped into source. And source is an infinite supply of amazing light energy, which is easy and expansive. If you're coming from ego, though, and that anger state, it's consuming.
It's super consuming and it's super just fake. I hate the ego. Like,
Right? Right? Oh my
it's
gosh.
just so like you can just look at the world today and look how much the ego has ruined that. Like
It's
it's just
running rampant.
yes.
Unhinged. It's totally
Yeah.
unhinged.
Yeah, I like this episode because I feel like it's a good lesson for myself to like keep on top of myself and keep my ego in check because it really isn't worth it. Like that energy, the controversy that could come from the ego is just not worth it to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's exhausting,
Yes.
really. To be angry is, I equate it with exhausting. It's exhausting to be around. It's exhausting to let yourself get to that point. I guess this week, what thoughts that I'd like to leave you with is acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. As Eckhart says, if you're not in acceptance, if you're not enjoying the moment, if you aren't enthusiastic about what it is that you're doing, then you're creating suffering for yourself and others. So let's remember to be present, to be awake, to be aware, and to come at life from a perspective of love and compassion. And that is the easier, softer way. Until next week, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to experience a deeper connection, we have two beautiful options. You can work with Gilda as your coach to apply these teachings in your real life. Or if you feel called to help others transform, you can become a certified professional coach through Wainwright Global. To learn more, join our Facebook group, The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment with Gilda and Barbara. Send us a direct message, just type the word coach, and we'll reply with the details and help you choose the best fit.